allowed to eat rabbit, would you do it or not? Would you raise rabbits as pets or as livestock? Currently, the Philippines experiences a meat crisis brought about by African swine fever. In Davao region, the culling of pigs diminishes the meat products available and leads to farmers losing their businesses. Now, the residents are looking for an alternative that is both productively efficient and nutritious. Rabbit meat is the best candidate as an alternative meat source for food scarcity and public health concerns. In this study, we explore the potential of rabbit meat as a standard meat product by determining its nutritional value, production efficiency, and marketability. By employing an extensive review of related literature, we have gathered findings that contribute to establishing rabbit meat as a standard meat product. As we go along with our presentation, remember the question: does rabbit meat display the potential of becoming a standard meat product in the Davao region?
Do you know that our ancestors have long consumed rabbit meat? Rabbit meat classifies as a game or meat obtained through sport or food hunting. It is an ingredient to traditional meals, most especially to those without a need for preservation. In 2014, 2.6 million tons of rabbit meat are produced. China and France contribute the most, with 700,000 and 51,400 tons per year, respectively. Rabbit meat has an excellent nutritional value, with protein levels as high as 22.4% in the loin. Rabbit meat has one of the lowest fat amount and highest protein content amongst typically consumed meat. The nutritious quality of rabbit varies along with its environment. Domestic rabbits contain 2 grams more fat than the wild ones. Nonetheless, its fat content is considerably lower than other meat products. Consumption of rabbit meat existed for a long time. The rest of the world produces and consumes it like any other meat. Its high nutrition quality makes it a healthier option than other available meat products.
1.8 million metric tons is the global demand for rabbit meat. Coming from a country where the consumption of rabbit meat is scarce, did this number surprise you? China is the biggest producer of rabbit meat, followed by Italy, Spain, Egypt, and France. Caniculture is the agricultural process of breeding and raising domestic rabbits for their meat, fur, and wool. Feeding, fattening of kits, and labor expenses constituted the highest, accounting for 26% and 18% of the overall bill. However, compared to other livestock expenses for food and labor, rabbit farming still is cheaper due to its size, non-violent in nature, and easy and cheap to acquire diet. Additionally, rabbits reproduce and mature faster than other products, meaning farmers can sell them earlier and in sizable amounts. Predatory invasion, lack of supplements for rabbits, and inadequate maintenance are the challenges posed by rabbit farming. Conclusively, rabbit farming is productively efficient and exhibits great potential as a small-scale yet effective business venture.
Would you pick a product from a shelf if it is labeled rabbit meat? Many factors contribute to the marketability of rabbit meat. Even if rabbits are highly adaptable as livestock and possess exceptional nutrition and dietetic properties, a decline in consumption is evident. It stems from animal rights and environmental issues and how it is viewed more as pets and not as food. Moreover, rabbit products do not meet the needs of consumers. Increasing its marketability means adding features such as salted, canned, or instant cooked meals. If no one takes action, the rabbit meat industry will continue to decline, putting farmers and distributors in a tough place. Increasing rabbit meat marketability requires cumulative effort from scholars and the government to educate people about the potential of rabbit meat.
Would you eat a rabbit? Historically, rabbit meat constitutes a part of people's diet, but currently, people's mentality towards its consumption has drastically changed, owing to its involvement in the pet industry. Our study concludes in changing this mentality and expresses that rabbit meat has remarkable potential as standard meat. Its low cholesterol and high protein nature make it highly nutritious compared to other meat products without falling short in taste. Due to its size, cheap diet, non-violent nature, and rapid reproduction, raising it is more affordable than other forms of livestock. But a challenge poses in marketability, brought about by people's perspective towards the animal. Due to this, inhibition of growth of the industry is evident. Let us conduct more studies and educate the public about rabbit meat.
Good day. We will present our research journal entitled Sustainable Livelihood Effects of Government's Animal Distribution Program at Mabini, Surigao City, Surigao del Norte.
Animal distribution program plays a role in livelihoods and developing economies according to Herrero et al. Year 2013. This animal distribution program serves as a safety net for the poor, provides food for the people not only in rural areas but also urban areas. This program helps sustain the needs of the people who are the beneficiaries of animal distribution program. Second, farmers were the beneficiaries of the animal distribution program that can help sustain the daily needs according to Adriano Year 2013. According to CAM, mostly the animals given to the beneficiaries are cattle, goats, chickens, and pigs. The beneficiaries are given the responsibility to take care of the livestock and produce more of it. Third, animal diseases affects livestock productivity in least developed and lower middle income countries. According to Bradbury, Year 2014, animal diseases can be a hindrance to improve the livestock productivity in least developed and lower middle income countries.
As described by Broom et al. 2013, livestock plays a huge role in supplying significant contribution to human welfare, specifically in social and economic categories. Tedeschi 2020 stated that sustainable livelihood is a crucial factor that elevates poverty, as well as it compromises the ability to maintain its capabilities, assets, and activities that are required for a means of living. Hence, having sustainable livestock production is equated to economically having much more efficient stability within the livestock system. However, livestock owners often faces challenges. Butchery 2015 listed some of the major problems related to livestock owners, such as nutritional deficiency attributed to feed and fodder inadequacy and insufficient veterinary care and vaccination that results to indisposition along with high rate of mortality.
According to Kale et al. 2013, animal dispersal in a split landscape relies on the compounded interaction between the environments and animal behavior. The dispersal ability of an organism is also anticipated to be a strong determinant of the range of a population system and the knowledge and speed of invasion into the latest domain, as stated by Macaulay et al. 2014. Animal dispersal avoids competition and inbreeding, while the risks are uncertainties of finding food, shelters, and appropriate social milieu that may affect their development. Milhab et al. 2011 described that animal dispersal was necessary for the persistence of populations amidst the changes in the environment and the prosperity of enormous management strategies. The government animal dispersal program is practiced in other local governments, and it gives promising progress as it aims to alleviate poverty. The City Veterinarian Office of Davao City 2021 has a program for animal dispersal like chicken, goat, hog, cattle, carabao, and horse that enhances developed indigenous breeds by the infusion of quality breeders in rural areas.
The Food Agriculture Organization of the United Nations 2011 have stated that the most prevalent animals on the Philippine farms are chickens, ducks, pigs, goats, sheep, swamp buffalo, or carabaos. They have also listed species with smaller populations and lesser contribution to the agricultural community, namely quail, pigeon, geese, and turkey. In terms of scale and species specialization, they've stated that animal agriculture in the country is strongly segmented. The animal welfare is fresh in the Philippines, according to Matias 2014, with Republic Act 8485, also known as the Animal Protection Act of 1998, which supervises and oversees establishment and activities of specific facilities. Some associations that support the welfare education are Philippine Animal Welfare Society, or PAWS, and Philippine Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or PSBCA.
First, the findings revealed that the identified animals that the government provided to the community were chickens, ducks, pigs, goats, and carabao. The researchers concluded that these animals given are the most prevalent animals in the local community. Second, The finding revealed the benefits and drawbacks of the animal distribution program. The benefit is it promotes self-reliance as they can produce income out of the animals. On the other hand, the drawbacks of animal distribution are that other beneficiaries do not take enough responsibility in taking care of the animals received. Third, the researchers concluded that animal distribution programs have helped to improve the stability of their income. And lastly, the researchers concluded that in order to make the program effective, it needs collaboration and efforts from the government and the beneficiaries.
As per the abstract of this study, stray animals contribute to serious health problems in human societies around the world. Generally, this study aims to establish a welfare for stray animals through animal adoption compounds and open rehoming in Butuan City. In this paper, the researchers used descriptive research design in determining the animal stray's welfare and identity by establishing animal adoption compounds for open rehoming in Butuan City. The result of this study indicates that adoption compounds for open homing in Butuan City for strays lessen the number of stray animals around the city. It shows that adoption could lessen the number of stray animals who were a victim of cruelty and neglect. Therefore, the adoption compound in Butuan City does help the stray animals from roaming around the city.
Bony cats lurking on garbage bins and filtering dogs limping across the streets, aspin and puspin as we call them, are common sights you see in the Philippines. Invasibilia 2012. PETA 2021 claims that the reason for overpopulation is because of people's failure to spay and neuter their pets, allowing them to bring more animals in a world that already has more animals than there are houses to house them. PETA 2018 enumerates the potential risks brought about by stray overpopulation. This includes dog bites, rabies, leptospirosis, cat scratch fever, and so on. In Butuan City, Cortes et al. 2021 mentions in the city found zero support from the local government unit and is solely run by an NGO named Heart's Purpose. They run the town by living off of kind-hearted people's donations. That is why they find it hard to make ends meet. Top it off, the place is also overcrowded as more and more animals are rescued each day with a lower rate of adoption. Thus, we, the researchers, propose establishment of animal adoption compounds to help elevate the welfare of the stray population by establishing a more accessible adoption method for open homing in Butuan City.
The review of related literature is an important part of the research since it supplements the ideas where the study revolves in. This study, the global effects and risks of stray animals, welfare and rehoming, importance and effects of animal adoption compounds, and lastly, responsible pet ownership are encapsulated in the RRL. The topics specified were elaborated by Wagner 2018, Ahmed 2015, Turner 2012, and Chua 2017. Connection with the previous authors: Macmillan 2017, Taniverd 2019, Selby 2016, Jarvis 2018, Serpel 2009, Fifth and Forsyth 2015. Substantiates the reliability of this research.
Good day, everyone. I am Nilmarie A. Dinopal from the Group 3 of VM1A, and these are our findings from our study. Stray animals have been prevalent and could cause risks that will affect the community and the environment. That is why this issue must not be neglected and needs to be regulated. Some ways of handling the issue of stray animals are through euthanasia and TNR, or trap, neuter, return, that prove to be efficient in regulating the stray animals population. However, these ways have becoming more expensive as time goes by. As a result, an establishment or animal adoption compound could be a practical way for stray animals to have a shelter and for people to have a convenient way when they want to adopt. Having an establishment for stray animals could also prevent inhumane animal reduction treatments.
So here's our research article conclusion. So we all know that the Philippines is among of the top 10 countries with the most population of stray animals. The issues discussed in the study were the proposition of open rehoming for stray cats and dogs in Butuan City. Establishing adoption facilities could create opportunities for stray cats and dogs to find new home where they can be taken care of. This step forward has a permanent potential of regulating and limiting the growth of stray animal population in Butuan.
Pleasant greetings to all. Today we are going to present our research on the accessibility to veterinary services, establishment of local veterinary clinic in Moncayo, Davao de Oro, Philippines. The introduction shall be presented by Wilfredson Habel.
Human health services may be reachable in rural areas, but animal care is quite cumbersome to get by. The Federation of Veterinarians of Europe reported reasons for the shortage of veterinary workforce in the rural and remote areas are quite diverse. Unfavorable working conditions, long distance travel, weather conditions, long shifts, difficulties in achieving the desired work-life balance, and the low demand due to some farmers who are not able to afford the veterinary services. This research will be based on the municipality of Moncayo in Davao de Oro, Mindanao. It is a small municipality consisting of roughly 95,000 people who also lack the services offered by the veterinarians. In the Philippines, the lack of veterinary services was addressed by establishing city veterinarians and provincial veterinary offices in each city and province respectively. Though the intervention was quite effective at first, the only problem was that the veterinary services are looked down upon and are then neglected.
The review of related literature shall be presented by Hannah Rio Espiga.
Prompt veterinary care is the key to identifying and preventing highly contagious animal diseases such as foot and mouth disease and avian flu and ensuring healthy and safe food for the public. The inaccessibility of veterinary healthcare in rural areas hinders livestock production. Also, it leads to an increased population of strays and self-medication in animals and worsening human health complications. Lesson 1 App 2018 stressed that to solve the lack of veterinary services, a veterinary station that works as a nursing station could be built and operated in rotation by several veterinarians coming in and out of town. However, the method propounded has not yet established successful results, and further exploration is needed to ascertain the efficacy if implemented. Furthermore, Colloquium 2006 imparts that the demand for future endeavors as to the scarcity of veterinary services is vital for the Philippines since the target problem is prevalent, mostly in rural communities where farmers and pet owners are affected.
The findings shall be presented by Gwyneth Agnes Hernandez.
The findings of the study suggest that in general, veterinary care is of utmost importance as much as human health, especially it does not just present livelihood, but also food security and public health. Smith 2001 asserts that all animals must acquire veterinary services, whether benefits the human or the other way around. Though major published works in the field involve opinion and most empirical studies are not being conducted in the Philippines, internationally there is a fair share of challenges as to what international studies have cited and does not make any disparities from what the rural farmers and pet owners in the Philippines have experienced. Lee et al. 2020 stressed that a supplementary study to evaluate the risk factors among numerous population will support progress in locally relevant risk mitigation strategies and acknowledge the ecological and social bias to recognizing and classifying implementations for other community settings.
The conclusion shall be presented by Sarah Fatima Lynn Garcia.
Considering the reviewed literature, in conclusion, without veterinary intervention towards medication and public health assessment, possess economic and livelihood effects to the farmers, compromise pet health and the probable health risks to the residents. Hence, emphasizing the importance of having a veterinarian in the facility to cater services within reach with the people in rural communities. In general, the lack of locally conducted studies makes it a ground basis to conclude that to come up with a more in-depth evaluation as a whole, there is a need for supplementary study that is needed to completely assess the integral factors such as the implications to animal health and public health risks in the level of local or rural assessment and address the multi-level barriers to accessible animal care, especially that it is an existing challenge that will not cease but rather complicates if left neglected.
That would be all for our research presentation. I hope you had enjoyed and learned. Have a pleasant day, thank you, and God bless.
Pork is the most consumed meat around the world and is a lucrative industry with billions of income every year. However, one of the main challenges of the trade is sanitation and hygiene. Organizations around the world find difficulty in regulating hog farm waste due to a lack of data and tools. One of the most challenging settings are small-scale piggeries that even local government units cannot regulate efficiently. This has also been observed in similar operations in China and Nigeria, with small-scale piggery waste affecting surface and groundwater supply, as well as causing discomfort due to foul odors to nearby constituents. Studies regarding the problem only provide identification of environmental and health risks, not actual solutions to manage piggery waste. The study is under Sustainable Developmental Goal 2, which talks about zero hunger. Additionally, it tackles SDG 6, which ensures access to water and sanitation for all. Small-scale piggeries are often overlooked, especially in the Philippines, leading to a lack of studies and solutions for the waste problem. All in all, the study is generally aimed at creating custom solutions for piggery waste management in the locality of Villanueva, Misamis Oriental. Specifically, it aims to determine the sanitation conditions of the target area, craft an appropriate waste management method, and implement it in collaboration with piggery owners and concerned authorities.
According to Cameron 2000, historical data indicate the pig was domesticated in China 4900 BC. In 1500 BC, pigs were raised in Europe. In 1997, approximately 550 million and it spread to different continents. Miller et al. Stated that swine industries of the world are very dynamic and continue to evolve and change along the external force that shape agricultural world. 1965 to 1885, public awareness of the effects of pollution and universal demands for preservation of the quality of the environment increased significantly based to Catelio et al. 2008. So urgently demands on pig farming industries to control pig waste discharges to avoid environmental issue and health issues.
Intensive livestock production produces significant quantities of waste that must be managed to protect water, air, and crop quality. One method of waste management is simply hold trainings and seminars to help improve the already existing small-scale piggery farmer perceptions and knowledge of animal welfare and market standards and requirements. Another solution is appropriate housing, an essential factor to consider in piggery waste management. Managing these pig farm operations by monitoring the piggery buildings is a required course to correctly generate the environmental conditions that could ensure the health and welfare of livestock, farm workers, and constituents living near the farming operations. Treatment in raw piggery waste and acid alterations effluents of piggery waste are used to generate bioelectricity. In recycling pig waste, it is processed into mineral, organic, and organic fertilizers of multiple forms such as liquid fertilizers, solid fertilizers, suspended or pelletized fertilizers to reduce the adverse effects of soil and water. It's con- It constitutes a raw material for generating biogas, a source of thermal energy convertible into
One of
mechanical
the main
energy.
concerns linked to the level of sanitation in a hog farm is the odor emitted by the facility caused by high concentrations of volatile fatty acids in swine waste. To deal with this challenge in piggery sanitation, farmers use thermal treatment of hog manure. However, not all the bacteria were eradicated after the test, and not only that, the treatment also entails an added cost. Lastly, pig waste, which is produced mainly in pig excrement and litter, constitute environmental risk to human and animal life through water, soil, and air pollution. The degradation of surrounding surface water and pollution in the environment by the emission of foul odors causes tremendous discomfort, especially to residents nearby.
The accomplishments produced by the studies, such as the assessment needs, can assist in understanding the environmental and health hazards associated with the pig waste problem in the small-scale piggeries located in Villanueva, Misamis Oriental. However, due to the nature of the study and its time constraints, the created plans will only specifically cater to the assessed needs of the target vicinity and may not be appropriate to other localities. Future studies are suggested to broaden their scope and provide more in-depth solutions with the help of this paper to fill the gap of some related issues that the researchers did not cover. Lastly, it is implicated that the regulation of small-scale piggeries must be facilitated by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and the Department of Agriculture to ensure the strict compliance of the owners.
Good day everyone, I am Dave Mendez, and together with my team, we'll be presenting our research titled Animal Welfare, Establishment of Animal Community Pantry Program in Surigao City for the Well-Being of Stray Dogs. For the abstract of our research, as announced by the Philippine Animal Welfare Society, or PAWS, there are about 12 million free-roaming animals in our country in year 2019. Most of these critters are put through inhumane acts, absence of suitable shelter, and extreme hunger. In line with those problems, our paper targets to build a viable animal community pantry, focusing primarily on the stray animals. Techniques used in this research is a combination of descriptive and quantitative analysis to address the objectives of our study. As per review of the data gathered, there are three major problems which might be encountered: duration and effectiveness, who gets to feed the animals, and the dangers of it to the community as being carriers of certain diseases. Through this, considering not just its impacts to the animals, but also for the safety of every individual in the community.
Hello, my name is John Carlos Ma, and I'm here to present for the introduction of our research. So as most of us may already know, many stray dogs often suffer and die after getting hit by cars, succumbing to extreme temperatures, starvation, diseases, and lack of proper shelter. Even with that in mind, there's still over 200 million stray dogs in the world currently, as stated by the World Health Organization, in which 1.5 billion get euthanized annually and 200 weekly in the Philippines. Despite the number of euthanization and our government's efforts, our country still ranked 4th in the world in the number of human deaths caused by rabies. What is even more alarming is that this may have caused a negative mindset to people towards strays, as in Surigao City, only 17 strays were adopted, while 253 were euthanized. With that in mind, we wanted to propose a research that would both be beneficial to the local citizens and the stray dogs. The idea was inspired largely because of the recent fame of community pantries, only that this basically aims to feed the stray dogs of Surigao City, especially the ones in the pounds.
Good day, I am Zelly Esmodiot and I'm going to report about
review of the related literature of our study. So, as the number of stray animals floated to such numbers, and researchers have been studying strays' behaviors, current health states, and creating steps on how to target the needs of our stray animals, this chapter presents a brief review of literature and studies related to the present study. So, according to Bradshaw, in the year 2006, feeding habits, palate, and denture of domestic dogs and cats are influenced by their descendants of the order Carnivora. In comparison of the two species, dogs belongs to the genus Canis, and its relatively unspecialized teething and feeding habits are somewhat insensitive to salt. Still according to Bradshaw, on the other hand, cats classified as fillies are strictly specialized carnivores as seen in their teething palate and nutriment insensitive to both salt and sugars.
These are the findings of our research proposal. The bloating numbers of stray animals, especially dogs and cats, caused by human interference and poor waste disposal management have resulted to stray living in proximity with humans. Moreover, garbages thrown away from an establishment like commercial areas, homes, hotels, fast food, and butcher store serve to contribute to their feeding. Thus, stray animals have survived and proliferate in urban areas. These are highlighted reasons of the growing population in Todd et al. 2015, Baneggio and Mintok 2020, Semnesis and Taba 2014 on their study of ecology and behavior of stray dogs in an urban areas. The voluntary feeding system of stray animals in the street is not regular, since stray animals depend on the availability of food, water, safe house to enable them to survive. However, their food source in the street depends on voluntary feeding left by volunteers, and this is not regular. Thus, stray animals on the street suffer from malnutrition and worse death. Therefore, in the research study of Yazar et al. On the feeding system for stray animals, they use technology, the Internet of Things, to provide substantial food for stray, resulting in revolutionized action that improve the living standard of free-roaming street animals as shown in their results.
Good day to all my fellow students and proctor. I'm Gershon Makiling and I'm here to discuss the conclusion. Canis lupus familiaris, known as the Aspin, is a type of breed that is commonly found in
Good day, we are Group 7 and we will be presenting our topic, which is addressing irresponsible pet ownership, basis for population control program of stray dogs for minimizing health hazards in Malaybalay City, Bukidnon. Stray animals are the victims of irresponsible pet owners who discard their pets on the streets. Because of the danger they represent to public health and animal welfare, a large number of stray animals is a topic of concern. The problem of stray animals is present in the Philippines and it is becoming worse. The Philippine national and local governments have taken steps to reduce the number of stray dogs and conduct information and education campaigns to help the people understand the importance of responsible pet ownership. Malaybalay City has seen a significant increase in the number of stray animals. This is due to negligence and the city officials' inability to take action and address these issues. Due to lack of care, stray animals suffer from poor health and well-being, which causes them to be a substantial hazard to human health.
For our review of related literature, let's go down to the history of stray animals. The World Health Organization reports that there are more than 200 million stray dogs in the world. And according to Jarrett 2018, free-roaming dog populations are a global concern for animal and human health, which includes the transmission of infectious diseases such as rabies, distemper, and parasites. Also, injuries and deaths caused by dog bites. And it is also a major concern in animal welfare and adverse effects on wildlife. Throughout the years, several studies have proposed ways to address the stray dog population and irresponsible pet ownership through its proposed intervention plans and areas to improve or further to be studied. There have been developments over the recent years. The world has witnessed an uproar of campaigns to promote responsible pet ownership. This notwithstanding, cruelty and neglect are still part of the reality for many pet animals, seemingly on account of a lack of understanding as to what makes a responsible pet owner. Under the law, a pet owner or a pet parent has two main responsibilities. First, pet owners are mandated to provide their pets adequate care and sustenance, and second, pet owners are liable for the damage and harm caused by their pets.
Voss Larva in Pasantino 2012 stressed that enforcement of laws will not on its own result in lasting voluntary changes in behavior. It needs to be supplemented by non-regulatory approaches such as public education. An owner's responsible behavior towards his pet and his neighbor can only be achieved through education. Edu and Estrada 2016 concluded that public health education is the long-term solution to problems such as pet abandonment and the responsibility of dog owners. However, some challenges were met. According to U 2015, sheltering, elimination, vaccinating, and neutering are some of the available methods for dealing with stray dogs, as are non-governmental rescue actions and services. Although these solutions can help stray dog issues, each one has flaws. Shelters would not be enough to fix the issue of abandoned dogs because the disease can spread easily among sheltered dogs. Vaccinating and neutering are effective choices, however, implementation is complicated due to shortage of funds. Moreover, the issue of responsible dog ownership is commonly discussed in regards to solving societal nuisance and animal welfare problems perceived to be due to irresponsible dog owners' behavior, Westgard 2019. Edu and Estrada 2016 recommended further investigation to assess the long-term effectiveness of responsible dog ownership program.
The following are the findings based on the review of related literature obtained from this study. Methods such as euthanasia are not good practices in minimizing stray animal population, as it does not solve the initial problem and inhumane. Shelters would take up a large amount of property and homes, and require a large number of breeders and veterinarians to manage. Neutering and vaccinations are effective ways to control the stray population, but requires a large amount of money. Lastly, to facilitate a responsible pet ownership, it is necessary to understand the factors that influence the dog's role development.
To bring things to a close, from all the compiled and assessed studies, the researchers identified two factors that chiefly contributes to the problem of stray animal population, which are irresponsible pet ownership and pet abandonment. Moreover, the researchers formulated effective methods of stray animal population control. As supported by many studies, sterilization methods effectively decrease the chance of uncontrolled birth of stray animals. Public education and education information campaigns are vital components that directly address
Canis Lapus Familiaris Domestication Literacy Animal Care Capacity of Dog Owners in Tagum City, presented by...
Imagine you're a first-time dog owner. Can you be a responsible pet owner? Just as said by Moen and Bowman, concern over animal negligence in public remains high, especially among policymakers, law enforcement officials, and the general public. A study by Patronic and others also shows that the majority of dog owners had insufficient knowledge and mismanagement of dogs, garnering about 37.5%, and history of owners' abuse or neglect of dogs are about 21.1%. Thus, there is a need to study attitudes towards animals, as their welfare is a critical issue in our country, as dog owners perform various pet ownership attitudes to promote dogs' welfare. This research study focuses on assessing how dog owners take care of their pets in pursuit of animal rights and welfare. This study also aims to examine how pet owners handle and provide appropriate care and essential for their pet dogs, and determine the availability and assess the resources needed to provide the animal necessities of pet dogs, along with the capability and expertise of pet owners in raising them.
hence stated that bringing dogs into human families arguably generates specific responsibility towards them. Fox and Geese further that the ideals of responsible practices continually evolve as dogs are becoming more integrated into the family in a humanized system. In line with this, the Kennel Club established the notion of responsible dog ownership to be centered on policymaking and campaigning messages relating to animal welfare and its societal impacts. According to Vanderland, a responsible dog owner should have control over the dog, supporting proper nutrition and exercise, removing the dog's feces from public areas, neutering, valid identification, microchipping, and taking care of the dog's overall health and well-being. As stated by Manteca and Salas, one must understand their physical health and emotional state needs to know how to care for these animals. Physical health includes animal nutrition and the absence of sickness and injuries, while their emotional health consists of positive emotions and being free from suffering and pain.
In regards to development, Odell and others point out that the dog domestication's recent developments fall under two categories: natural selection and artificial selection. They define natural selection as an event where an animal can behaviorally tolerate the presence of humans, responding to them as a food source. On the other hand, they express that artificial selection relies on the preference and desires of humans toward distinct animal traits. Concerning challenges, multiple problems arise in achieving the results and interpretations relating to responsible dog ownership. Westgard and others emphasizes that it is critical to establish an understanding how responsible dog ownership is defined and practiced by different people, as without proper knowledge, the phrase responsible dog ownership will only provide a small impact in relying the change in behavior intended through campaigns and policies.
Animals in every aspect deserve to acquire invaluable rights. From Animal Welfare Council in 2009, insinuated that the sustainable pet ownership administers animals freedoms from hunger and thirst, from discomfort, from pain, injury, or disease, to express normal behavior and from distress. Consequently, the absence of these criteria is associated with the millions of dogs that are unattended, discharged, and sent to animal shelters by pet owners on the account of unwanted litter, dogs' uncontrollable aggressiveness, owners' lack of time for the dogs, and risk of disease transmission from dogs to owners as delineated by Vucinic Italia in 2019. Moreover, allowing unneutered free-roaming dogs outdoors will enable them to mate freely. The immense size of litter risks the aspects of animal welfare and pet population control. Rutko Streets in 2010 has reported that pet population control programs address this by performing various hysterectomy on female dogs to regulate the spread of unwanted litter.
To sum the group's presentation, I will be giving you our conclusion. So, let's start. A dog owner's responsibilities are not only focused on the physical and mental well-being of their pet. Instead, it should be the whole package. This includes giving them the adequate nutrition and exercise, health care, neutering and spaying, a proper identification, a home, and many more. Moreover, as studies shows, a dog's behavior is deeply associated with the owner's way of raising them. Therefore, it is crucial to establish a responsible dog owner's mindset and value it in their unconditional love and belief and underpinning it in their human-dog bond. Lastly, with the rise of the dog population, domestication of them will also be rising. Therefore, before throwing themselves into the dog world, aspiring dog owners must first know their roles and responsibilities as a parent. That concludes our presentation, but before we end the video, let me ask you this. Will you be a responsible dog owner?
Good day! We will be presenting our research entitled Animal Healthcare, Self-Medication in Animals by Pet Owners in Poblacion, Quezon, Bukidnon. Before I will start, I would like to ask you a question. How often do you practice self-medication not just on yourself but also on your pets? Because you see, according to Panda, along with his colleagues in 2016, the practice of self-medication is associated with high risks of drug-related problems, or what we call DRPs, resulting in antibiotic resistance and other adverse effects. When we say self-medication, this is the self-administration of drugs or any substances to cure any ailments without prescriptions from a medical practitioner. This is a prevalent problem around the world. However, most related studies are only conducted abroad and not much in our own country, Philippines.
The objectives of this research is to find the reasons behind the practice of self-medication on animals, the challenges in practicing self-medication on animals, and the ways in dealing with the challenges when practicing self-medication on animals. As for the method of our study, we synthesized the various studies and literature to formulate the findings and analyze them for our conclusion.
Reasons behind the practice of self-medication in animals by pet owners. The following are the findings based from our review of related studies. First is the lack of awareness of the people. People tend to think that what is good for humans is also good for animals. Next is the practice of home remedies, lack of time for a checkup, distant hospital or lack of healthcare facilities in their immediate community, high consultation fees, and fear of unnecessary tests and medicines, extensive advertising coming from any social media sites or coming from their friends or relatives. Next is the availability of drugs in places other than in drugstores. And lastly, the unavailability of veterinary services.
Challenges in practicing self-medication on animals. It is often viewed as a form of healthcare, and because of that, people are left unaware of the potentially harmful activities and unwanted effects on their pets. It is also prone to pathogen resistance, and it makes infections difficult and sometimes impossible to treat. Misinformation and inaccurate diagnosis may also happen because of the lack of knowledge of the pet owners on the drugs that they are using. Overdose or improper use of drugs also occur, and because of that, pet owners may give a large number of drugs to their pets without them knowing due to the insufficient knowledge. Toxicity may also occur, so instead of alleviating the pain that the pet is suffering through, self-medication may instead poison the pet due to toxicity. And overall, self-medication can do more harm than good.
Ways in dealing with the challenges when practicing self-medication on animals. Educational attainment influences the practice of self-medication. This shows that highly educated individuals tend to have relatively low levels of antimicrobial self-medication compared to those who have low educational attainment. Thus, promoting literacy will help minimize the practice of self-medication. Health professionals devote additional time to educating their patients on the subject. This improves self-medication awareness and understanding that could lead to more reasonable use and, as a result, a reduction in emerging microbial resistance. In addition to that, the implementation of community pharmacy is an advantage because there are many pet owners that have experienced difficulty in administering medication to their pets. There is a need to improve the veterinary antibiotic management policies and development of sustainable interventions to avoid improper use of veterinary antibiotics to reduce antibiotic resistance.
Self-medication has been the last resort for some pet owners when they see their pets get sick. There is a multitude of factors that influence on practicing it. Financial capacity, lack of access to affordable veterinary services, deficit substantial information, and etc. The alarming side would be relying on the internet for any viable home treatment without any supervision from the veterinarian. This risks the animal for misdiagnosis, improper administration and dosage of medicine, noting the adverse effects that come with it. There are also emerging cases on the using of self-prescribed antibiotics that might eventually develop antimicrobial resistance. All in all, basic literacy over the harmful self-medication towards animal companions is necessary. Local policies should be strengthened to regulate the veterinary products to the public.
Good day, I am Jane Syra Villagra from the VM1A, and we're going to present our paper entitled Inadequate Veterinary Care and Services Addressing Its Impact on Animal Owners in Rural Areas in Mindanao, Philippines. Our presentation is organized as follows: Introduction, RRL, Findings, and Conclusion. Recent studies reported that there is a shortage of veterinarians and veterinary services in rural areas. In fact, the FVE highlighted that there is a 78.5% shortage in Europe, and the USDA reported about 200 veterinary deficiency areas across the country in 2012. In the Philippines, especially in Mindanao, this inadequacy is a significant problem that affects animal owners and their pets. Some interventions have been applied internationally and locally. However, these are not enough to fully address the problem, emphasizing the importance of the situation. It requires no argument to prove the necessity. Make veterinary health care a priority.
I'm Krisha Yu from the VM1A, and the problem stated leads our study to address the impact of inadequate veterinary care and services on animal owners in rural areas of Mindanao, Philippines. It specifically aims to identify how inadequate veterinary clinics and veterinarians affect the animal owners, evaluate how they respond to the limited access to veterinary care, determine the factors that affect the establishment of veterinary clinics, and to develop alternative solutions in promoting sufficient veterinary care and services in Mindanao's rural areas, specifically in Cotabato, Davao Occidental, Dinagat Islands, Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur, and Zamboanga del Norte. There are insufficient studies done locally, particularly in Mindanao. Most of the related literature we based on was done on areas coming from America, Europe, and South Africa, which means that publishing our study would be a significant addition to journals regarding veterinary care and services in the Philippines. It requires no argument to prove the necessity. Make veterinary healthcare a priority.
I am Jiminali J. Ubanan, DVM1A, and this is our review of literature. In the history of our study, the University of California 2015 states that in most fields, there is a minimal indication of veterinary labor shortages. It is a major issue in all of the countries surveyed. Poor veterinary care in rural areas 2020 emphasizes opportunities can do for veterinarians in rural areas, save lives and maintain the health of farm animals, establish veterinary clinics, limited rivalries, and challenge to deal with both small and large animals. In the study of FBE 2020, we found out that there are various factors affecting the lack of veterinary services in rural areas. Veterinarians prefer to work in urban areas because of opportunities and work with companion animals. They don't prefer rural areas because they have to travel long distances, long shifts, low income, and demand of veterinarians, and lack government support. It requires no argument to prove the necessity. Make veterinary healthcare a priority.
I am Alexandra Variacion, and this is still on the review of related literature. In the effects on animal owners in rural areas, the Federation of European Veterinarians asserts that the lack of veterinarians impedes the growth of the livestock industry and the rural areas in general. Farmers may experience financial loss, and livestock businesses may force to close. In the future, the rest of the animal industry could not afford to lose the veterinary representation, lest food safety and the increase in zootonic disease slides through the cracks due to the lack of veterinarians. If the number of veterinarians graduating is insufficient to meet the needs in food safety, public health, shelter, and preventive medicine, issues may arise, as stated by Felsted and Weinstein in 2020. It requires no argument to prove the necessity. Make veterinary healthcare a priority.
Good day, I am Don Well, and I will be presenting the findings of our research. The lack of veterinary care and services in rural areas affect animal owners who suffer financial losses from animal disease outbreaks, which led several livestock operations to cease. With this, they perform operation and treatments such as maternity care without the help of veterinarian. In this aspect, the factors affecting the establishments of vet clinics and vets in rural areas include 1. Rural areas has undesirable environment. 2. Animal owners have limited financial resources. And 3. It is complicated to set up successful enterprise for profit. However, alternative solutions were promoted, such as aiding livestock industry workers to look for opportunities to learn how to improve their production and livelihoods. Alliance between young animals and vets can ensure aspiring young vets to have a thorough understanding of what a life in a rural community entails. It requires no argument to prove the necessity. Make veterinary healthcare a priority.
To recap the main issue, animal owners in rural areas are unable to receive accessible veterinary services. As a result, we intended to provide possible ways of solving this problem for sustainable improvement. We found out that the inadequacy of veterinary clinics and veterinarians does indeed have a significant effect on animal owners in rural areas, and that there has been a strong demand for providing veterinary medical services to these places. It can be concluded that alternative solutions are needed for the proper regulation of veterinary care and services. It should now be clear that if these solutions can be implemented, we can surely resolve the shortage of veterinary facilities and specialists, as well as improving animal health and productivity in underserved rural communities. It requires no argument to prove the necessity. Make veterinary healthcare a priority. I am Janine Gail Waban from DVM1A. This is Group 10, and that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.